Lastly, it is noted that the House Resolution number 882 already described the transactions of the provincial government of Ilocos Norte subject of the legislative inquiry as highly irregular. With due respect, the assertion is unfair and unwarranted. Any inquiry in aid of legislation is first and foremost intended to gather information. To declare irregularity even before an inquiry is conducted is lamentably irresponsible. There was nothing improper or irregular with the transactions sought to be investigated by the Committee on Good Government and Accountability. The need for transport to increase productivity, market produce, and facilitate access to livelihood and training projects, among others, funded under Republic Act number 7171, is germane to the purpose of the law. So many roads, nothing to ride. This is how our tobacco farmers describe the agricultural transport situation in our province. It was the tobacco farmers themselves who made numerous requests for the purchase of vehicles and equipment they can use to, among others, transport produce and agricultural implements, and to attend to various agricultural livelihood and training programs meant to increase agricultural output and develop alternative livelihood from the crops and industries other than tobacco as envisioned in Republic Act 7171. I therefore find it ironic and most unkind to our tobacco farmers that House Resolution number 882 declares misuse of the tobacco excise tax allocation of the province of Ilocos Norte when the purchases being derided respond squarely to the dire needs and actual demands of tobacco farmers so they can improve their plight, which are the same needs and aspirations that Republic Act number 7171 seeks to support. It is these farmers, not anyone else, who are in the best position to say what it is that they actually need in terms of support from the government and whether or not they benefited from any such assistance. Similarly, unfounded claims of irregularities purvey misinformation to the public that is most unfair and unkind to officials of the provincial government of Ilocos Norte. Purchases labeled in House Resolution 882 as irregular, in fact, complied with all applicable laws and mandated government procurement and bidding procedures and were duly authorized by the Sangguniang Panglalawigan. Cash advances and disbursement of funds include the liquidation thereof were compliant with relevant rules, regulations, and circulars. Xerox copies of checks and vouchers bereft of any certification of their authenticity or provenance are not proof of irregularity. Most importantly, the purchases labeled as irregular underwent proper audit and post-audit examinations by the Commission on Audit, which found no irregularities in the transactions. Not one observation was made by the COA. Nor has the use of Ilocos Norte of its share in the tobacco excise fund been described as improper, irregular, or illegal, except in House Resolution number 882. With due respect, the use of such language as misuse and irregular in House Resolution number 882 tends to convey bias and oppression of prejudging a subject of inquiry before any inquiry is done, which renders the inquiry vulnerable to allegations of abuse of authority and even political persecution, or at the very least, propelled by interests other than the greater public interest. It is in the spirit of fairness that I sincerely request the Committee on Good Government and Accountability to address these legitimate concerns so that the integrity of the proceedings and the legislature itself, of which I was a member for 12 years, is not diminished by a haphazard and unconstitutional exercise of congressional authority. I pray that as fellow legislators and public servants, we can work together in the spirit of fairness and mutual respect to protect the integrity of our democratic institutions and processes, and to uphold without fear or favor the principles of fairness, due process, and the primacy of the law, which form the cornerstone of our Republican government, which all of us are sworn to uphold. Just Tiagina, very truly yours, Imelda Imee Marcos, Governor.